Okay, so I was going to give you a little break from the politics, but I am trying to work on a character that for teaching science, specifically more in the biological regions and microbiological, and I'm not really happy with him. He's not shaping up exactly how I wanted. So, to keep things going, I'll go ahead and do this, my last, hopefully, political video for a while, probably till April or May, hopefully. I forgot to put this in my 4,000 subs video, but Zerafina was my 4,000th subscriber, so thank you very much. And now on to the actual video. First off, I'd like to thank Slick Executive Type for catching a mistake I made via assumption instead of research. He's a libertarian who made a video response to my video, Why Some Private Regulation Works. I disagree with pretty much everything he said, as he did me, but he was very polite about it and gracious, unlike most of the libertarians I've had comments on my vids. So I thank him very much for that. What he caught me in was, he said, I don't believe America is the most underregulated in the Western world. I need you to prove that. Actually, I think it was more like, you pulled that out of your ass. Not so much my ass, but my perception. Europe especially has a lot of regulation that we don't have, so it really seems an easy jump to assume that Europe is more regulated than America. Well, when people call me out and they genuinely want to know as opposed to trolling, I will do some research, and I found out that America is actually the fourth most overregulated nation on the planet after China, India, and Japan. We're just seriously underregulated in areas we actually need, which makes it seem like we have a lot less regulation. Which led me to make my video on preferential voting as a way to ensure that regulation won't be abused too much by keeping government out of the hands of just two parties and ensure that money only comes from people and not companies. So I thank you for that, Slick Executive Type. Now this video is what I was going to say in the framing video, but did not want to turn it into a libertarian argument. I can do so here, and this will be the last one for a few months. As I said in my Ron Paul video, the political situation is complicated. There are a ton of historical, economic, and political nuances. Around 1970, William F. Buckley, in a think tank that was very well funded, was trying to figure out how to remove the dirty stain from the word conservative held, especially after plunging America into a depression and being associated with union busting. They tried to bring a message that all factions of a very splintered and diverse parts of the party could get behind, as fiscal conservatives hated social and religious conservatives who hated the libertarians and the John Birchers. After a decade and millions of dollars spent, he was able to refine a message that eliminates any negative-sounding ideas and had shaved away to the basic logical-sounding arguments. They started with their first candidate, Barry Goldwater, and Ron Paul picked up the mantle. Of course, the rest of the Republican Party drifted heavily from Buckley's original idea, especially after Goldwater lost the presidential elections. They became a machine bringing people together to network and figure out ways to win elections and enforce their brand or moral and religious right on other people, while of course making lots of money for people funding the think tanks. The further they diverged from Buckley, Goldwater, and Paul narrative, the more they began losing the libertarian vote, but that was okay because now they had the religious right, which was even a bigger voting bloc. Especially one of the large donors was the C Street Gang. They would use networking and connections to keep people loyal to the party. They even used tactics of framing and word association, developed by Frank Luntz as a survey expert that allowed George W. Bush to win enough of the right vote to be declared president, even when Al Gore had a lot more facts and evidence to back himself up. When a person is locked in a frame, facts, data, and evidence cannot penetrate. The GOP pound the idea of patriarchal parenting system, which due to fear and stress of 9/11, dropped our collective oxytocin, and many more people accepted the system, allowed us to spend much more on war to punish those evil people who attacked us, even if it turned out we were invading the wrong nation with no game plan to rebuild or get out. Didn't matter at the time. The farther America had to lay down the law on those spoiled bad children in Iraq and Afghanistan, no price was too high. It allowed for the passage of the Patriot Act and many other liberty-removing bills to enforce their version of morality. Ron Paul spoke strongly out against this attitude, seeing us all as fellow adults who can make decisions on our own, be it nations or individuals. That's what drew me to him. However, you libertarians weren't completely unaffected by the patriarchal narrative. I was going to put this in the framing video, but I thought better of it. This next part was going to come right after the end of part 1. Watch it first here if you haven't seen it already. The patriarchal narrative pushes the idea that the world is evil and requires discipline to do well in society. If you're disciplined, you can't help but be successful. Anyone who fails in society is spoiled and lazy, because no one who is disciplined could fail. Giving someone welfare, especially when money is taken from one of these rich, successful, good, disciplined people, or a helping hand, is just helping to spoil them, and they must be punished by the hardness of life, otherwise they will be spoiled and lazy and never work again, while psychology shows that most people want to work, and only those people with some psychological problem will mooch off the system, and need others' help to get back to work. The model views any psychological disorder as just lazy or wimpy, or wanting special treatment. I've also noticed a trend of psychology denialism among libertarians. Mind you, a lot of this is caused by psychiatric association using just drugs instead of therapy, caused by major kickbacks if they sell more drugs. It's the free market at work, you can't argue with it. There's a big reason why Europe has much higher rates of mental health than the US, especially among our homeless population. They've obviously sinned and weren't disciplined enough as children, so they should be left to be punished until they become more disciplined, even though studies show clearly that this punishment mentality actually creates more poor and more criminals by up to 10 times. The rich people and disciplined are good, and the poor people are bad and undisciplined. It's a great binary framing. It's not as if both of them had the same opportunities or equal support or experience. It's very egocentric, and it's been shown that often rich people rewrite their own history in their minds and memories, eliminating all the help they had to get where they are, like Ayn Rand did. I know the other side of your argument includes that you can't trust government to do anything right and to be trustworthy.